Have you ever wondered why it's so hard to change your mind? Nuts and bolts. Okay, so I'm really getting into the nuts and bolts of how you get people to change their mind, or why is it that people don't change their mind when they're confronted by proper facts. Okay, I think one of the biggest questions in psychology, certainly in psychotherapy, is this: how to help people to change their mind. The reason it's important is because every mental health problem, at the very heart of it, are a set of beliefs about the self or the world or other people that just don't work. They're wrong. Not only they're wrong, they're deeply unhelpful, deeply self-destructive. Very early in life, your brain tries to figure out what's going on. It has to do that to be able to give you a good experience. But the problem your brain has is that it floats in a bath of cerebral spinal fluid. Your brain's actually in the dark, and the only access your brain has to the external world is through the senses. So to be able to figure out what's going on, your brain creates a simulated reality, and it's that simulated reality that you respond to, not what's actually happening in the external world. Now, pretty quickly, your brain starts to value consistency. Your brain wants to have a stable and consistent world. And as soon as your internal reality is created, your brain protects it. And it bats off, disconfirms, avoids and rejects information which is not compatible with what's already in here. This process is called cognitive dissonance. And it basically means it's uncomfortable to hold two competing beliefs or attitudes at the same time. And therefore, for the sake of consistency, your brain tries to stop information which disconfirms what you already know from entering into your simulated reality. Let me give you a silly example. Suppose that you're 6 feet tall, but you believe that you're 5 feet. Now, you're going to buy clothes for a 5-foot person, but they're not going to fit. And so the external world is going to give you lots of opportunities to challenge that belief. And eventually, you'll go, oh, I used to believe I was 5 feet, but now I believe I'm 6 feet. Fine. But when you develop a negative internal belief about yourself, that's a bit different. Because as soon as you start to develop a negative belief about yourself, let's say, for instance, I don't feel good enough, I'm not good enough, you start to organize your life around that belief. So you do less stuff, you talk to less people, you push yourself out less, you expect to fail more, you're less adventurous. And so in organizing your life around that negative belief, you're reducing the opportunities external reality has to challenge that belief. And the few opportunities you do get, cognitive dissonance rejects them, avoids them, bats them off. Your brain does not care whether what you believe in your simulated reality is true or accurate. It just wants consistency. But of course, in cognitive behavior therapy, we want to generate cognitive dissonance. We want to generate two conflicting beliefs. So if you believe you're not good enough, we want to find examples that make that appear untrue. But can you do this? Yes. Can you do that? Yes. Do you have friends? Yes. Are you successful at work? Yes. Do you have a good relationship? Yes. Okay, so it's actually not true that you're not good enough. And we want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing this negative belief, even though it feels uncomfortable, until your brain goes, poop, oh, okay, yeah. I used to believe I'm not good enough, but now I recognize I am good enough. I used to believe that I was boring, but now actually I recognize that I'm interesting. I used to feel like a failure, but now actually I recognize I'm successful in many things. So we have to embrace this discomfort from holding two conflicting beliefs, especially if one belief, I'm not good enough, is negative, unhelpful, and even self-destructive, and the other belief is accurate. That's how things change. That's how you change your mind. You find opportunities to be open and allow actual external reality reprogram, reconfigure some of the negative beliefs that you have about yourself. When you change your simulated reality, your life changes. When you change the beliefs that you have about yourself, particularly negative ones, your life changes. And when you're open to the possibility that you don't need to have a limited, self-critical and restricted life because that's what you believe about yourself, your life changes. So this is really the nuts and bolts of therapy. All therapy is really, at some point, at some stage, get down to the nitty-gritty of this might be what you believe, but this actually is what's true. And which way do you want to go? Believe negative stuff about yourself that's not true, or believe true stuff about yourself that's not negative? I hope you find this interesting. Thanks for taking the time to watch and listen. Signs of cognitive dissonance. Feeling uncomfortable about doing something different or something that's new. Justify and rationalize decisions even though deep down you know that they're not the right ones. Feeling embarrassed or ashamed about yourself. Feeling guilty or feeling regret. Feeling anxious when you push yourself. Being self-critical and undervaluing yourself before you even do anything. Explaining away and avoiding new information. So these are some of the ways that cognitive dissonance presents itself. Be aware of that process. Ask yourself, what is this conflict? Why do I feel cognitive dissonance? It can also be interpreted as anxiety. And think to yourself, well, what's true and what do I believe? If they're not the same, which one's accurate? And go for that one. A wise woman, Susan Jeffers, once said, feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's a good way, actually, of challenging cognitive dissonance.